Yo, what's going on YouTube? This your boy Comrade Spike back again once again. And today we're here for No.1 Sentai Gozyuger episode 2. And in this episode, we get the debut of Goju Wolf and Goju Taleno. And they're already working together in this episode. They're already working together. They've already made, formed a little duo and things like that. We see that Yellow is a big worshiper of Tegasword. He is Tegasword's #1 fan, and he basically worships Tegasword like he's a freaking god. He's also mega super strong, which also makes sense because he's a freaking T-Rex. And Goju Wolf, who is Mr. Byakuya, and he is a idol. I think he's a failed idol. I think he's like a fail. I think his wish is to become an idol again, but he's a failed idol. And we see that Ryugi, who is Goju Taleno, he is also like, I guess his whole thing is just to worship Tegasword, do whatever Tegasword tells him to do and things like that. And also in this episode, we see how like the monsters are created, and the monsters are called No.1s. And when they are created, I guess they basically possess a human. They basically take their body parts and put them on top of a human, and they come to life. And they're called No.1s because they are like the #1 in whatever thing that they represent, because there's no one else that does what they do. So this monster, this No.1 is called, it kind of reminds me of Nobodies from KH, but this No.1 was like #1 treasure hunter, and his whole thing was that he goes around the city and just finding all these treasures, right? So what the guys basically have to do what our three have to do is basically they go on like this big treasure hunt with him, and whoever finds the best treasure is able to defeat him. And I think I guess that's gonna be a thing that we get with all the No.1s or the monsters of the week, where we basically have to do some type of thing or some type of competition against them to basically really defeat them. But we see that the human that he takes over is Horu's landlady, and he ends up taking over her. And when he takes her over, he's able to come to life. And Horu, he sees this, and he's like, nah, you gonna give my landlady back because I'm gonna hunt you down for my rent. So he's trying to, you see, I get the whole renting thing is gonna be that Horu is trying to pay rent a lot. And bro gotta get a job, bro gotta get a job. But we also see that one of the Bell monsters is like good friends with Fire Candle, and he's taking upon himself to like kind of get revenge for Fire Candle for what happened to him in the last episode. And we see our big bad, our big bads, which is the king and the queen, who are stuck together, like literally stuck together. They're like a two-headed being. And we get like a little foreshadowing of like this gigantic mech that they have in the background, and it seems like this mech is like, I guess, their mech. But it's kind of cool because it seems like the monsters of the week aren't going to be the ones that like grow big. It seems like whoever is part of the organization that's like trying to basically mess up the world, they're going to be using like their own like versions of mechs, and these mechs look dope. Like this mech, the belly I use, look kind of cool, look kind of stupid, but also has some cool factors about it as well. We end up seeing Taleno, we see his mech, and we get like 2 different fights that are happening all at once. But then we see when Horu does meet the both of them, he basically they basically offer him to like join their team or whatever, and he goes, no, I'm not really a team player. Henceforth, his name is the Lone Wolf, Goju Red. He's the Lone Wolf. For a while, this dude is gonna be by himself doing his own little thing. And we go on this treasure hunt, and while they're looking for treasure, we see that Horu, he's like digging through, he's like using Tegasword to dig into the ground to find treasures and stuff like that. But then Ryugi gets like pissed off at him because he's using Tegasword like he's just some random some random machine, and he kicks him out. He throws trees at him, he throws rocks at him and all kind of stuff, and then Ryugi ends up taking the treasure that Horu was actually about to find, which was like these were some A1 type treasures. Like, you found, like, people were camping out there. You found like it was like a crate just full of these gold coins, these like gold oval shaped kind of coins, like dog tag kind of shaped. And he found that. And then the monster, he ended up finding like he found like some gemstones, like some red and blue and green gemstones that were like stuck together in like a rock formation. And I'm like, is that a Kira Major reference? Was that kind of a Kira Major thing? And then you see that Byakuya basically since he's like a failed idol, he ends up finding these two old people who are like really big fans of him. So he basically manipulates them into giving them like one of their most prized possessions, which was like this big golden vase that was like very, very, very old, and he's going to use that as his treasure. So the three guys, they end up bringing, well, we see that the monster and Ryugi and Byakuya end up bringing all the treasures, and but we see that Horu hasn't brought his treasure yet. So they put all the treasures on the scales and stuff like that, and we see that the treasure monster ends up winning himself, and then he ends up stealing the other treasures that the other two brought. But that's when Horu comes in and steals the treasures back. Well, basically steals the bag that the treasure monster used to get treasures, steals all the other rest of the treasures, and then the fight ensues. And while he's fighting, we see him fighting everybody, because at the end of the day, he's still trying to free his landlady, trying to free her. And he's fighting some of the monsters. He starts fighting the monster of the week. He starts fighting all the grunts and things like that. And then that's when Byakuya decides to join him. He starts to join him, and he's fighting all the grunts while Horu is fighting our monster of the week. We also see that the other Bell monster that was friends with Fire Candle, he ends up terrorizing the city with his mech. So that's when Ryugi goes into his, he prays to Tegasword, and then Tegasword basically comes in, and then that's when Ryugi goes into his mech, which they all look like they get like the same outfit when they're in their mechs. And plus, when they're in their mechs, they're not rangered up, they're not in their ranger form when they're fighting in their mech. So he's fighting him, and so we see that Ryugi uses his Tyranno mech, and he's battling the other Bell dude's mech in the city, while the other two are down on the ground fighting all the monsters, right? So we end up seeing Goju Blue end up transforming. He ends up using a ring, and he ends up transforming into Boon Red, and it looks really dope because it's Boon Red, but he has like Goju Wolf's like blue armor on, which is dope. And he ends up taking down all the little grunts and stuff. And then that's when we get our last fight with Horu and Horu fighting the treasure monster. While he's fighting him, he ends up doing that like cool fighting game combo type of thing. And when he does it, he ends up stabbing into the chest of the monster. And when he stabs into him, he's able to see inside of his body, and he sees that his landlady is inside of him. So he reaches in and grabs her and pulls her out. And after he pulls her out, he does one final attack, and he ends up taking down the treasure monster. And he ends up saving the landlady. The next day, he wakes up and he sees that the whole place has been like Tegasworded out. Like, it's like Tegasworded out. It's like worship, like just all kind of weird, like just Tegasword memorabilia and flags and insignias and stuff. There's like a figurine of him, like as soon as you go downstairs. It's weird. So he's looking, so like Horu's looking around, and the landlady basically says that she hired the other two. She ends up hiring Ryugi and Byakuya. And seems like Ryugi is gonna be like the chef and the guy that cooks and stuff, and Byakuya is just there. And Horu asks them like, "Hey, what you guys do with all the treasures?" Ryugi's like, "I returned the gold and stuff to the police." And then Byakuya said, "Hey, I gave those old people back their vase with an autograph." So it's like, I mean, I guess this is, he kind of manipulated them into giving it to him because he faked a throat injury, so he couldn't sing. But at least he gave it back. I'm glad he ended up giving it back to them. I guess he planned on doing that from the beginning anyway, because I thought the thing was gonna break or something. But he ended up giving it back to him, which was nice. But yeah, so Hodu runs out and he says, I got a job interview. And he runs out to go try and find a freaking job. And then that's when we see Taya, not Taya, but I forgot his name in there. I forgot what his name is. It's Tamashi or something like that. But yeah, we see him and we see that he's holding the money that Hodu paid him back with on like a necklace. And he says one day when it comes down to it, we're gonna fight again. And when he walks off. So yeah, I guess he is going to be a reoccurring character. I feel like yeah, he's gonna be a reoccurring character. And next episode we're gonna get Don Momotaro. Don Momotaro is gonna be, I guess, like this maybe like this business freelancer kind of dude. But yeah, he's gonna be transforming into Don Momotaro. And that's when we get the debut of Green. I think Green is gonna make his debut, and our Black Unicorn is gonna make her debut, and I'm really looking forward to that. I wonder if those two are also working together as well. But yeah, man, this episode was cool. I feel like it was a little bit more easy to follow. It was more straightforward. It was very bombastic, very big, and very expressive, just like episode 1. But there was less of it, but it still was good. There was less of it, and it was also sort of easier to follow. Like episode 1 just felt like, hey, we're throwing this and this and this and this and this at you. But now that we've kind of gotten like the general kind of story out of the way, now we can get into like introducing like characters and introducing more concepts and how the monster of the week stuff is going to work, and transformations of how that's going to work. But they're doing it like a little bit more slowly and a little bit more to where you can understand what's happening, because I understood this episode way more. I understood that like the pacing with this episode was better than last episode. They're both good, but the pacing was better in this episode, in my opinion, because I was able to easily understand way more than what was going on, because it was also very straightforward and very simple, and I could understand what's happening. But other than that, this episode was great. I loved it. We got our yellow and blue, we got red, and we're getting green and black in the next episode. And I loved it. It was absolutely freaking goated. But other than that, you guys let me know down in the comment section below what you guys think about this episode of #1 Sentai Gozyuger. And we'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. And remember, as I always say, stay henshined.